So then we have another one, which is in Cap Realism, which is Lathe of Heaven, which I linked to it because there's a certain amount of defining your reality by what is allowed and what is prohibited. And that's also a kind of commentary on utopianism and utopian literature that was anti-Soviet. And China Miéville also has an essay called The Limits of Utopianism and name drops Ursula Le Guin quite substantially as a notable influence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also, I mean, the unsing and the, like, sort of reintegration of reality in Life of Heaven, that's the title of the thing. But, and I mean, on that note, the similar to 1984, like, in the same way.
And then to discuss this in terms of Children of Men, you have a lot of, oh yeah, in late capitalist society, of course you're going to have extreme amounts of wealth next to prison camps as kind of just an accepted reality that we all need to accept. And in Children of Men, it's not even really commented on until it's part of the plot.
Well, I mean, the thing that Fisher mentions in Children of Men, the movie, unlike the book, you could imagine them at least formally having elections. And in the case of The City and the City, they do in fact have elections. It is a democracy in both places. I think it'll come as like this single party, like, but not Marxist-Leninist state. I don't really know. In Basel, at least, there's competitive elections between political parties that's mentioned quite extensively. But, they also ban books and, like, literally ban certain colors of clothing. And there's this, extrajudicial secret police force that everyone just sort of accepts. And, even to the extent that they quote-unquote ban books, you can... the guy's like, oh, I want this illegal book, and it's like, just fucking order it off Alibaba, or like, I forget exactly what he does, but it's basically that. And, no one's getting arrested for a banned book. You're getting arrested for disturbing the police at a protest, and they search your bags and they see a banned book. And it's very much this soft authoritarianism, more realist authoritarianism. Like, I think a classic critique you can have of 1984 is just the notion that, the 1984 government is so overt and obviously insane that surely any sane person would be able to recognize the 1984 government. And that's not really how things work.
No, it's kind of just integrated as a reality.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know any alternative, or there's a certain level of understood or pre-established prohibition on things. Much like this reality, you wouldn't say that not being able to look across the street is authoritarian necessarily. It's just a pre-existing condition of living
Right,
there.
and it's, part of being who you are as a citizen of this place. And yeah, it's not, outside these marginal politics, it's not really challenged. It kind of gets challenged by the introduction of outside capital that, famously wants to tear down all borders and melt all that is solid. But yeah, it's for the people living there, it's not considered authoritarian, and in fact, it's more or less as democratic as many countries that we consider democracies.
And the final one that I want to go over is Parallax View, which I think you said this is more like the anti-parallax view.
Yeah.
Where in Parallax View, you have a conspiracy that the main character's protagonist is investigating, and the closer he gets to the conspiracy, the more it eludes him.
Like kind of a Kafka deferral of
yeah,
like,
it's constantly
you're
just out of
literally
reach.
trying to get through a door that you can't get through. That's kind of the end of the goddamn movie.
Yeah.
Um,
And there is a shadowy kind of government commission or
Yeah.
or like a committee, right? That's like implied to be working with this corporation, and this is the anti that because you get to see behind the green door, and it's kind of banal.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because in some ways, like, I mean, Fisher kind of named Parallax View as something that, at least saw this non centralized evil, non purposeful evil that is the, whatever, geist of late capitalism. And I think in many ways there is some quaintness to Parallax View because in many ways Parallax View has a very centralized evil. It's a company called the Parallax Corporation. They got a sign. And with the case of the Parallax View, it's like, yeah, this continual deferral, this continual, oh, it's just behind the next thing and you can never quite beat it, and then when you try, you just get integrated into its functioning. Well, in the case of City in the City, it's like, well, there is no Orsini. That's just the deflection that this guy made up, and it's almost, I would say, like a die-hard realism of it's like, no, they're not like crazy terrorists. They just want to steal some money. It's like, yeah, no, there's no ideology behind this. There's no, oh, we are the ancient guardians of Orsini and you need to help us get our artifacts back. No, he just wants to sell the artifacts. There's no meaning. It's just commodities.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does then have to be the spooky fucking cops, but yeah, there is the functional idea of in the breach, when you breach, you then have to just work for the breach forever. I wouldn't even call that a conspiracy because it just seems like everyone kind of just accepts it anyway. And it's a thing that we all kind of agree with in this society, and we're aware that there's like ghost cops who probably aren't ghost cops, and we're probably just not looking at them because we've all Pavlovianly been trained to not look at certain things. And yeah, that's it.
Another movie that Fisher does not mention, at least to my knowledge, he might mention elsewhere, but not in any of the books we read, is The Game, which is a very funny movie.
Right, I have not seen this.
David Fincher's The Game with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn, and there's a company that's similar to Parallax View, and it's run by a corporation. It's called Consumer Recreation Services, or CRS, that pull like pranks and like kidnap Michael Douglas and like torture him for a while. And like they keep doing things like following him and harassing him. And then at the end of the movie, it's revealed it was Sean Penn who commissioned this company, the CRS, the Consumer Recreation Services, to prank and kidnap Michael Douglas as a birthday present.
Right, yeah.
And it drives him to suicide.
I remember hearing about this movie. I've never seen it, but yeah.
He drives him to suicide, and famously at the end of it, he jumps off like a wall on a third floor thinking he's trying to kill himself because this corporation or like this
yeah.
And he falls into a net and it ends up being a surprise party for him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've probably seen that scene, but yeah.
But it is the sort of banality behind the conspiracy.
Right, yeah. I mean, that seems like a direct satirization of movies like Parallax View, but yeah, and this kind of integrates that into, which I mean, I don't even think is postmodern even, because I think it is in many ways. I mean, if anything, it's a fucking Scooby-Doo plot, like, it's as postmodern as fucking Scooby-Doo is. It's certainly a plot point that was used in hard-boiled detective stories before, of just the general idea of you use like a fake conspiracy as a deflection for a more mundane crime. be it a ghost haunting an old amusement park or to cover up like tax evasion or, what have you.